Okay, guys, in this video, we are going to be chopping up these samples, okay, into neat little regions. So first thing I'm going to do is, I have all of these loaded up because I was just using the same logic file, using a tip that Scott gave me about project alternatives, thank you. Pressing H to hide the tracks, select these two that I'm going to hide, pressing H again, and goodbye. There we go. So we have these guys. Now, I don't know what workstation you're using, whether you're using Cubase or Logic or Pro Tools or whatever it is, or Live. There's a really important thing I want to highlight to you here is learning your shortcuts, learning your keyboard shortcuts, because for instance, if you're doing like a piano sample and you've got 100 samples, whatever it is, it's such a ball ache to not do this without shortcuts. It takes so much longer and it's so much more tedious. So the shortcuts I'm referring to are moving the playhead to and from transients and then cutting at the playhead. So in Logic, you can, obviously you can change your key commands in the edit section. And if you don't know what your key commands are, you see I've already done it just because the key commands I thought I had weren't the right ones. So forward by transient, rewind by transient, and then cut by playhead. So I now know that control full stop and control comma are my forward and back, and then Apple T are my key commands that I need. Now what this does here, so if I go back to the cue and I press control full stop, it moves to the transients, okay? That's the start of the big sound. So it's quite sensitive. But the thing is, it's good to know because, for instance, here, if I move the playhead up here, it's going to jump over to there. It skips the silence, which is very good. Now, this is a lot of me chatting, I think. Yeah, bit of chat. So I'm just going to chop that and get rid of that unless I want to make a sample library out of me speaking, which I don't. There we go. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Forgot to mute those hidden tracks. There we go. Okay, so let's just chop out some of this chat so that I can refine my samples a little bit. I mean, I'm kind of doing the work here. Let's try that again. Oh, hello. There we go. Okay, so, oh, no, a bit more chat. Yeah, but it's good for me to know, isn't it? I mean, I kind of know that I only did 5 notes, so right. So, admittedly, I just showed you that key command thing. It is really important when you're doing more samples, but when you've got big pad samples like this, it's pretty easy just to do it with a Marquee Tool. But if I go here, then I can obviously nudge it forward to the very beginning of the note, which I don't really want to do because I want a bit of silence at the beginning. Now, if you are that way inclined, you can then nudge your playhead, set your nudge and your playhead to a 16th note, which in 120 would be, I don't know, 500 milliseconds. But the point here is that you create the same amount of time before the start of the note on all of your samples, so that when you're in Kontakt, you can then set all the start points of the sample itself at exactly the same time. It saves a lot of time. In this case, I'm not sure I really need to do it, and I haven't thought about it too much. I mean, I can do. Problem is, I've got. Yeah, I mean, I've kind of done it there. So I'll just do it. I'm doing all this chat about it. So I will just do it anyway. So that's there. What I'm doing is I'm just moving it a 16th before the start of the note, so that hopefully in Kontakt we can all have a bit of fun and start at the same time. Oh, that one's a bit early anyway. There we go. And then this one. Oh. Now that's got a bit of grain to it beforehand, but that's where the note starts. So a 16th. And that's the job done. So I'm going to save. Now what I can do is just add a fade in, fade out, a very small one at the start of each file, just so we don't get any clicks and clacks and stuff in the samples. And now we're going to export these samples. Now something's pretty important here when you're exporting them is your naming convention. And what you can do is you can name them using MIDI numbers, which allocates like a number between 0 and 127, I think it is, I'm not sure, what key appropriately you're playing on the keyboard, or you can call it C3, D2, whatever. I tend to just use those, even though I know Kontakt prefers the MIDI numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to first of all figure out which sound is which. Okay, yeah, so what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be loading up another instrument just so I can hear what notes I'm playing. I mean, obviously you can, of course, load up a tuner so that when you play, you can see how wonderfully in tune it is to an E. Now, what type of E is it? It's not that one. There we go, and Logic will tell me E2. Okay, so this one's E2, so this one must be B2. Yep, and then this one will be E3. Yep, and then B3. And then E4. So I now know my library, I now know my note names when I'm exporting them. So I'm just going to solo this. I've chopped it up, given it the right starts, faded out the starts and the finishes just a touch, and we're ready to export it. Now, where was I? I'm in. I'm still using the 96K files, so let me export it. And our note names. Okay, I'm going to call this Scratchy Violin. Get the right note. E2. That's all. Because remember, we don't have any round robins. We don't have any velocity layers. And bounce. Now I'm going to do that for the other samples. Okay, so there we are. I've just done that for the violin pad, which I've called Scratchy Violin. So what I would like you to do now is to drag in the normalized files, which are in 48K, and you can then go ahead and figure out your shortcuts and edit these and export them with those naming conventions. I mean, the naming convention is basically just giving it the note name in this instance, because we don't need any other information for Kontakt to read. Right, and then we're going to in the next video, we're going to move on and chop up the guitar, and then the following video, chop up the tambour. Cheers, guys.